I've been looking at the president's 120-word FBI budget request, the so-called skinny, I'll call it Ozempic request, that states that, quote, the undoing of the weaponization of the FBI is one of the administration's top priorities. The weaponization of the FBI is something that deeply concerns me. It should concern all of us. And yet, since taking office, President Trump has been on a revenge tour. He has targeted individuals, universities, law firms, with executive orders to cut them out or to make them come under his will. He has used ICE to disappear U.S. citizens without due process, and he's fully ignored a unanimous Supreme Court order, and then over the weekend wasn't sure if he was obligated to uphold the Constitution of the United States. In your book, your recent book, Government Gangsters, you include an appendix with a list of names that people have referred to as an enemies list. Now, I know you will claim it's just an appendix, not an enemies list. So let's focus on how the president sees it, on what the president calls it. And you proudly display his quote on the front cover of your book. The president calls this a brilliant roadmap, a blueprint. And I have not even raised your storied children's book, The Plot Against the King. It concerns me how many people from this blueprint have been targeted with executive orders and FBI investigations. The FBI cannot be weaponized, and under your leadership, it has been nothing but a weapon alongside the president.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and you've shown yourself unfit to lead this agency. That's how Representative Madeleine Dean lit into FBI Director Kash Patel, who showed up to a congressional hearing with more spin than answers, more excuses than integrity, and a book to sell instead of a mission to uphold.
I am gravely concerned about the utter lack of independence of the FBI and its weaponization under your leadership. I am concerned that the president is using this book, your book, as a blueprint, as he has said. It's a blueprint for revenge. And I am concerned that your eagerness, a childlike giddiness to carry out the president's revenge tour, you've shown yourself to be unserious in your statements before you were sworn in and some after. You've shown yourself unfit to lead this important agency.
Yes, Kash Patel wasn't testifying, he was performing in front of Congress. The FBI director dodged questions, played the victim, blamed everyone else, and shamelessly promoted a book that Donald Trump has openly praised as his blueprint for retribution.
As you and the president continue to weaponize and investigate his perceived enemies, as you follow this blueprint, when can I, a former impeachment manager, expect the FBI at my door?
Ma'am, you want to know who was targeted by a weaponized FBI? Me. You want to know how and why?
Well,
you want to know what I'm doing to fix it?
That. Let me move on.
Well, you should read the
topics.
book because there's no enemies list on that book.
So
there are
you-
people that violated their constitutional obligations and their duties to the American people,
That's good. You
and they
gave
were
them due
rightly
process.
called out,
I'm
and
changing
you should
topics.
give that book to every one of your constituents so they can
changing
read
topics.
about it.
I won't be doing that.
That's their loss.
This isn't the first time a Trump lackey tried to turn a paranoid paperback into national policy. Remember Peter Navarro's fake economist trade war fantasy? Death by China, confronting the dragon. Now Patel's government gangsters is being treated like gospel, while the FBI is hollowed out, repurposed, and stacked with loyalists. Every answer he gave reeked of grievance. Every attack he launched echoed Trump's vendetta politics. And when challenged, Patel had nothing. Not accountability, not answers, just a sales pitch and a smug grin.
You repeatedly denied having any involvement as a private citizen in the firing of FBI officials who engaged in the prosecution against January 6 insurrectionists, the violent rioters who beat and killed Capitol police officers, and whom you referred to as political prisoners. Since then, multiple whistleblowers have come forward, and we know that you likely committed perjury. At the same hearing, you claimed you were not familiar with Stu Peters, an anti-Semitic Holocaust denier, despite the fact that you appeared on Mr. Peters' podcast 8 separate times. 8 times, and you claimed not to recall. Mr. Patel, my second question is, should we worry more about your memory or your veracity?
We should worry more about your lack of candor. You're accusing me of committing perjury.
veracity.
Tell the American
didn't
people how
know.
I broke the law and committed a felony. Have the audacity to actually put the
all
facts
right, then
forward
the answer is
instead of
both.
lying for political banter so you can have a 20-second
answer
donation hit.
The answer is both. I believe that the
The
men and
answer is
women of the
you're
country
failing,
speak.
not
I
me.
reclaim my time.
Go ahead.
Representative Dean said it best. This was an unserious moment for a serious institution. And what made it dangerous was how intentional it was. Kash Patel isn't running the FBI to protect Americans. He's running it to protect Donald Trump. His loyalty isn't to the Constitution, it's to a man with an enemies list and a Twitter addiction. When law enforcement becomes a loyalty test, when public service becomes book promotion, and when confirmation votes are based on obedience, not competence, we're not witnessing governance. We're witnessing the rise of authoritarianism wrapped in a MAGA hoodie. And if you're not alarmed, you're not paying attention. He didn't show up to testify. He showed up to perform. Kash Patel sat before Congress not as a public servant defending law and order, but as a sycophant trying to turn a House hearing into a sales pitch for his Trump-endorsed revenge novel, I and Government Gangsters. Trump called it a blueprint, and he meant it, because the book lays out a roadmap for purging government officials, targeting so-called deep state enemies, and consolidating Trump's grip on power. We have seen this game before. Peter Navarro sold a paranoid fantasy in Death by China, filled with fake quotes from a made-up expert named Ron Vera, and somehow that became real trade policy. Now it's Patel's turn. Only this time, the stakes are even higher. Because this isn't about tariffs. This is about law enforcement. This is about giving the most dangerous man in America a loyalist with a badge and a score to settle. Patel wasn't answering questions. He was dodging them. He wasn't offering transparency. He was hawking grievance. And he wasn't interested in defending the Constitution. He was there to serve one man, Donald Trump. That's when Representative Madeleine Dean stepped in and took the gloves off. Dean didn't just question Kash Patel, she took him to the woodshed. When the calm fury of someone who's seen the movie before and already knows how it ends, she dismantled him piece by piece and left his credibility splattered on the committee room floor. She came loaded with receipts. Trump's own FBI budget says one of its top priorities is to undo the weaponization of the FBI. Let me translate that for you. It means gut it, politicize it, turn it into Donald Trump's personal revenge squad with a federal badge. Dean laid it all out. Trump using executive orders to punish enemies, ICE disappearing U.S. citizens without due process, a judge in Wisconsin arrested for having the nerve to demand a judicial warrant. That's not law enforcement. That's a regime doing cleanup. Then she brought the book into it. This is the same book Trump called his roadmap. And if it just so happens to include a tidy little appendix that reads like an enemies list, Patel tried to brush it off. Oh, it's just an appendix. Yeah, and Mein Kampf was just a manifesto, right? Dean wasn't having it. She looked this man dead in the eye and asked, should we worry about your memory or your veracity? Boom. That line didn't land, it detonated. The man stammered like he didn't know what hit him. He wasn't just cornered, he was absolutely exposed. And how did he respond? The only way a Trump loyalist knows how, by playing the victim. He cried about political attacks. He accused her of being unserious. This while sitting there trying to sell books like he's doing a live reading at CPAC. Then he had the gall to say, I'll defend the Constitution. Well, maybe you should too. Oh, really? From the same guy who couldn't say out loud whether the president is obligated to uphold the Constitution. By the end of the exchange, Dean didn't need to yell. She didn't need to grandstand. She took him to task, and anyone who watched it knew it. That's the kind of takedown people are going to remember. You want to talk about legitimacy? Let's look at how Kash Patel actually got this job. The Senate confirmed him 51 to 49. Not one Democrat voted for him, not one. And even 2 Republicans had enough of a spine to say, hell no. That's not a mandate. That's not the people have spoken. That's a damn hostage situation where loyalty beat out integrity by a thread. Now compare that to reality. James Comey confirmed 93 to 1. Christopher Wray, 92 to 5. Hell, even people who disagreed with them politically recognized the importance of having an independent FBI. But with Patel, he squeaked through on raw partisanship and Trump's personal endorsement. And let's talk about that. Because while Kash Patel's been out here trying to cosplay as J. Edgar Hoover for the MAGA crowd, Trump's approval rating is in free fall. If you thought 39% was rock bottom, hang on, because it's still dropping. And guess what? When Trump sinks, Patel sinks with him. Ever heard of guilt by association? Well, here it is on full display. This isn't just about incompetence, it's about karma. You tie your career to a twice impeached, insurrection inciting con man, and eventually the floor drops out. And make no mistake, Patel didn't get confirmed because of his qualifications. He got confirmed because he pledged loyalty to Trump, not to the Constitution. And now the country's supposed to be trusting this guy with the FBI. Hell no. And it's not just Patel. Let's not pretend he's some lone lunatic operating in a vacuum. He's part of the cosplay crown crew that's turned public service into a punchline. You've got Elon Musk, the richest man on earth, strutting around with a damn chainsaw to cut bureaucracy. That's not leadership. That's a sideshow act. Then there's Marge the Trainwreck Green, misrepresenting a fencing representative in a congressional hearing, screaming that he flipped off the camera only to get smacked down by Representative Melanie Stansberry like it was amateur hour at the county fair. Lauren Boebert quotes Bible verses while calling for mass deportations because nothing says love thy neighbor like throwing kids in cages while holding prayer meetings. These people are not lawmakers. They're influence peddlers with microphones, grifters in red hats, actors in a fascist stage play that's been running way too long. And Patel, he's just the latest cast member. Same script, same stunts, same zero accountability. We started this with Representative Madeleine Dean's words. You've shown yourself unfit to lead this agency. And now you've seen exactly why. Kash Patel didn't show up to protect the American people. He showed up to protect Donald Trump. He didn't swear an oath to the Constitution. He swore it to a man with a grudge and a book deal. Every word out of his mouth reeked of spin. Every answer he gave was a dodge. And every second that he sat there, he reminded the world that this isn't about public safety. It's about political vengeance. You can dress it up however you want. But when you sell a book instead of defending your record, when you dodge questions about your own lies, when you treat a congressional hearing like an audition for Trump's next vendetta, you are not a public servant. You are a problem. This wasn't a serious defense of the FBI. It was a parody of accountability, a sales pitch wrapped in spin and drenched in ego. Representative Dean said it best. It was unserious. But what makes it dangerous is that it was intentional. And that's the real takeaway. This isn't incompetence, it's sabotage. When the head of the FBI is more interested in promoting a revenge fantasy than upholding the law, you don't have checks and balances. You have a ticking time bomb. Patel is unfit. He's unserious. And if we let this slide, we're not just watching democracy erode. We're handing it over willingly. That's the fight. And if you're not in it, you're losing it. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.